Greetings, chess fans. My name is Arturs Neiksans. I'm the leading Latvian chess grandmaster, and this is part 3 of my Latvian championship recap. And I'm gonna title the video, as the photo finish to the FIDE World Cup. Because in this tournament, we're fighting out the only spot from the championship to the FIDE World Cup. So the stakes were the highest, and I'm going to show you two critical games that I played in the tournament. The first game I played in round number 7. This was also the second game of the day. By the way, also the second game with the black color, because for some reason the colors were breaking all the time. So I finished the tournament with 2 blacks and then 2 whites in a row. And my opponent in this game in round 7 was the young Valdats. He is a young talent from Latvia, about 15 years old. He was having a fantastic tournament, 4.5 points out of 5. And in the previous round, he had lost to my direct competitor in the race for the championship, Tom Contons, who is also his coach. So we had not enough time to prepare for the second game of the day, and my opponent is a big e4 player, so that's why I thought, okay, whatever, let's try to play the Scandinavian again. Because I had a pretty good feeling that most likely within this 1 hour in between the rounds, he won't have the time to prepare anything serious against the Scandi, and I also felt that playing Scandi against youngsters might be a very good idea, because they might not have a lot of experience. I mean, and I trust the Scandi itself. And in case somebody missed, earlier this week, I released my 5th chessable course, the battle-tested Scandinavian defense. The link is in the description, and also the first part, my own immortal game that I played in round 6. By the way, earlier this day, also in the Scandinavian, this is already published on my channel. So far the game repeated the steps of the previous game. Here my opponent played knight f3, c6 and bishop d3. Not the main continuation, but the big idea here is that white stops black from playing bishop f5, because if I do this, you need to watch out for b4. The queen cannot protect the bishop, and this is a pretty dangerous gambit. So even though I'm up a pawn, white gets a ton of activity. So I knew this is a bad idea. I play bishop g4, bishop h5. All of this makes perfect sense. He played queen e2 and bishop d2. And during the game, I quite could not recall that we have such a line in the course, because I was pretty sure that engines, they kind of like these positions from the white's perspective because of the space advantage, but at the same time for black it's very easy to play. So I play bishop b4, very common idea for the Scandi. I don't mind giving up the docks with bishop for the knight. I could have played also something else like queen c7, but bishop b4 makes perfect sense. a3, knight e7, I really like this move, keep the tension. And by the way, he cannot take on b4. Sometimes this exchange sacrifice is a possibility, but the point is he's never even close to trap my queen, because I can just play bishop g6, kill the bishop, and at least safely retreat with the queen on a6. So this idea doesn't work, but it doesn't mean that a takes on b4 might not be an option in some different lines. So here probably he could have played long castle, and I had envisioned this, that I could take on c3, and one of the ideas was either queen c7, b5, a5, b4, and the pawn on a3 will serve as a hook. Or the second idea was queen d5, centralize the queen. White goes here, plays rook e1, and this is where Stockfish tries to convince me that white is slightly better. I don't know. To be honest, I feel that this is the dream position from the black's perspective. I have no issues. I get to trade the light square bishops. I control the light squares, but you know, whatever. Also, my opponent was not really sure about it. He played a short castle. Now I take on c3. I thought he had to take with a b pawn to be ambitious, But my opponent decided to play it safe. Bishop takes on c3. I play queen d5, threaten take on f3, and from some similar lines of the course, I knew that engine gives black slightly better position. Like if I can take on f3, even 2 knights against 2 bishops, black is slightly better. I didn't know this position, but I knew a very, very similar position. So my opponent played g4, and unfortunately I cannot sacrifice a piece, which would be great, because there's a very nasty intermezzo move, bishop e4. Then only white takes on g4, gets rid of the pin, and I have to basically resign. So I cannot do that. I'll play bishop g6 and rook e1. There was one thing that I immediately noticed in the opening phase. My opponent was not very convinced of himself, and he was burning a lot of time. His body language also was giving me the signs that he's pretty nervous. And I thought I should use this to my advantage. The question is how? And I decided to force matters, go to the endgame, which in the hindsight probably was not the best idea. And perhaps I could have played something else like b5, try to control those light squares, but I saw that he wants to play bishop d2, bishop f4, knight e5, and I felt that this is way too easy plan to allow my opponent to carry out. And that's why I decided to take on d3 and play queen b5, with the idea I want to dominate the light squares. And you know, when I saw this position when I had this position during the game, I was pretty sure that engine most likely evaluates this position slightly in favor for white. And do you know what my opponent said after the game? He said, probably I was worse in the opening. Like, that's a typical feeling for somebody who hasn't played this position so much. So I wrote the course. I know that sometimes white plays g4, should castle, and even despite the fact that there's multiple weaknesses around the king, engine says everything is good. And that's the difference. We are two human beings, and we are not engines. So I decided to take on d3 before he can retreat with the bishop. And maybe here could have played something quieter as h6, keeping more tension to make sure that white could have played g5 and get rid of my knight. And I just didn't like this line with bishop b4 and white wants to play c4. But engine says actually c5 is very good. Take on d3 and a5. Very nice idea. So I get back the pawn and then I get to dominate the squares. But by the way, still the engine says it's equal. So even this means nothing. So I played queen b5 with very good intentions, but I had a feeling I'm rushing with things, because my idea was if he trades, I want to get the knight on d5, play e6 and dominate the light squares and play against his bad bishop. Now, naturally, I saw d5 because d5 in a similar line is one of the common themes for white. I have to take with the knight, bishop takes on g7, rook g8, and I estimated this position to be very interesting for me in the endgame because I have the good knight. And I have some pressure at the king side. And I only consider bishop d4, which would make sense for him to play against my knight. And I thought I'm going to play some like h5, g5, knight f8, knight g6. Perhaps at some point trade one pair of knights. And then in endgame, I'll play the youngster. So that was the idea. And I was feeling very, very confident of my position. And now suddenly he played bishop h6. And I thought, now that is weird. But how do I exploit it? And suddenly it dawned upon me. I actually misevaluated the position because white simply wants to play knight e4 and f4, f5. And I was like, wait, what? How do I actually stop that? And now the entire idea of some rook g6, h5, g5, he still plays knight e4, f4, f5. What am I doing here? So I was thinking initially maybe I block those light squares, but he just plays at some point c3, puts the knight on d4, pushes for the f-pawn. How difficult can it be? And after some thought, I spent here like 20, 30 minutes, I realized, worse. I'm simply worse. I mean, I went for this endgame with bishop d4, and I thought I will be the one pushing, and here I actually have to be careful. So I decided to play e6, which is not really about protecting the pawn, but taking him away the desire to land the knight here. And then I would organize counterplay at the queen side. He retreated with the bishop, makes perfect sense. I play b4, very difficult move, but I realized I want to organize counterplay at the queenside as quickly as possible. It doesn't really have to do anything with doubling of the pawns. It's all about the pawn play and having targets, because I knew it too well what I would do if I was white. He played here. He played a very nice move, rook e4. So the idea is that I cannot take on c2. There's going to be rook c4, and he's trapping my knight, and knight a1 is just not something I want to do. So most likely it's trapped. I didn't really check it any further. I retreated. King h2. I improved my pieces. And here he decided to improve the rook. I was only expecting rook e2. But rook c4 is surprisingly a very good move, because he's also threatening to play g5 and rook h4. And also the main problem is I cannot easily get rid of my weakness on h7. Because if I play h5, g5, and like knight e5, how do I protect this pawn? It's very difficult, and rook h8 just doesn't feel right. Because he could play b3, bishop b2. What I'm going to do, play rook h7, play without the rook? So I was not feeling very hot to go in this direction. So that's why I just activated my pieces. He went here, I played rook d8, and I was simply following the rule: when you don't know what to do, you improve your pieces and hope for the best. Knight g5 was a good move. He targets the weakness. He wants to put the knight on e4. A very annoying idea, by the way. Knight e4, knight c5, target these weaknesses, followed by bishop g5. So I basically have to be extremely careful on playing knight f6. He could have played rook f4. I'm going to play king e7. The knight on g5 remains hanging, and I'm doing good. He played knight f3. Now I activated the rook, so we're fighting for these two squares. He played g5. Because already at some point I'm thinking about playing h5 myself. So g5 makes perfect sense for him. Knight e7. And here he decided not to play rook h4. I don't know the reason. Probably he saw there's some knight f8 ideas. And he was not really sure what happens after knight g6. Can he take the pawn on h7? Because now the rook is kind of disconnected. And his queenside is becoming pretty vulnerable to some knight b4 counterattacks. So he played pretty smart. He played rook e4, which, by the way, stops knight e5, because this was my idea all along. I want to play knight e5, trade off this knight, maybe get the knight on g6, attack the pawn on c2, and see what happens. And after king e7, all I need is one move, basically. I want to go here and being just in time to defend the pawn on g8. If I do that, I'm just better. I had a feeling I'm going to overtake the game, and now he played rook h4. Which I thought, again, was pretty tricky. Because if I would play something like knight f8, he plays b3, and bishop a3, bishop f8 to eliminate the knight comes with a check. And I suspect that during the game, this was a trap. That was very, very impressive. But now I play knight e5, went for the original plan. Obviously, there's a fork on f3 threatening. He has to defend against this. I played rook c8, counterattack the pawn. And I had a feeling I'm taking over the game. This is it. This is my chance. And I was playing pretty quick, applying a lot of pressure, and my opponent started to spend a lot more time. And about here, he already was down to like 2 minutes or so. And I had a feeling I'm going to break him. And here, for example, if he tries to defend the pawn with rook e2, there's a very annoying move, knight e3. Like the bishop on c1 is under attack. Engine says, by the way, white should go here and here. I don't know what is this. It's some sort of a race. I mean, I'm racing at the queen side. He's racing at the king side. So who knows how this game would have finished. Engine likes some bishop c1, which I can always target with rook d1, and a pawn goes forward. So it never happened, but Engine quite likes white's position, says white is still slightly better. But he is a human being. He played a 4. I played knight g6, he took on h7, and I took the pawn on c2. And I thought, it's very close. It's very close because it's about the equal material balance, but all I want to do is king f8, trap the rook on h7, play knight e7, knight f5, rook d3. The rooks and the knight could make a very powerful checkmate combination. My opponent played h4. He was already in time scramble about 1 minute. I had like 9. King f8. I'm following the plan. h5, knight e7. And I already saw some checkmate ideas. Like, let's say he plays h6. I give a check. I give a check. I give a check. And it ends with a brutal checkmate. Like, one of the ideas. So I have enough pieces to go for the mate. And he felt the danger and basically blitzed out with some seconds on the clock g6. Which makes perfect sense because he cuts off my king and seeks some counterplay. Also, the pawn on e6 now loses support. So I decided to give a check on d3, which engine says it's minor inaccuracy because of rook e3 walking into a fork. And here the Silicon B says it's good for white, like it's okay. And the game's supposed to end somehow with a draw. But I think in a time scramble, this is a very difficult accuracy. So after rook d3 check, and it was more precise for me to take on g6 first and then give a check on d3. The details I'm not going to bore you with. He played bishop e3. I eliminated the pawn. I gave a check, king f3. And now, critical moment of the game, and possibly the entire tournament. What is happening in Tom's game? I think Tom's was winning at this point. My direct competitor, Tom Cantons, we had drawn our game in round number 5. At the moment, I had a 5.5 out of 6. Tom had already 6.5 out of 7. I have here like 8 minutes, and my opponent has 1 minute. There's pins and everything, and I'm thinking, how do I win this? And I'm thinking, obviously, I gotta exploit the pin on e3. So I take on b2. Makes perfect sense. I reinforce the threat of rook b3. He cannot walk away with the rook here, because let's say if he does this, there's gonna be a mate, right? So I see that, and I feel like, okay, this is it. It's very, very close. He plays king e4, and I'm like, wait, what? Because here suddenly the point is, I cannot take on e3. Like, this is not winning. He's too strong with a g-pawn. Like, he wants to roll forward with a king, and if I eliminate this pawn, it's just gonna be a draw. Like, rook a7, rook b6, whatever. So I realize I cannot go here, and I'm like, wait, I got it, there's rook b3. Because now, if he plays bishop c5 check, king g8, and let's say make some random move, for example, here, I was very, very happy to find rook d5 with knight g3 checkmate, and I'm winning. Also, I saw that he cannot, at any given moment, let's say here, play something like rook h1, go for the checkmate himself because I checkmate first. I was like, hooray, let's do this. And before I'm making the move, I'm like, wait, what if? What if after bishop c5 check, king g8, he plays king e5? And I'm thinking, wait, rook d5 check, I'm winning a piece, right? King e6, rook c5, I'm winning. Knight g7 is going to save the king. He plays king f6. And I'm starting to calculate this, all of this, like rook takes on c5. There's rook h1, rook h8. There's no checks. And I'm thinking here I could have to play knight h4, rook f5. There's no way I'm winning this. Like, not even close. And actually here the engine says the best move is first rook d1. Rook d5, white just takes on d5, takes the knight to d5, and just wins the game. And after rook c8, only now play rook h1. Either way, I cannot go here. And I'm seeing all of this right now. What is happening? I mean, where's my win? And apparently there was a win, but I just missed it. Like, maybe not the win, but the big advantage. So I went home with an engine. An engine says the best move here for white is rook b3. What? What is even the idea of rook b3? And apparently now he cannot play king e4. I give a check. And he couldn't go forward. I take on e3, and now this doesn't work. Okay, I got it, right? Yeah, if you say it like that, I could understand it. But here, the best continuation for white is to give a check, play rook d7. And now I can either take the pawn on b2, or rook c4, king f2, rook b2, king f3, rook b3, king f2, and I still cannot win this. Like, it's absolutely insane. So I'm winning a second pawn I cannot go to the rook king game. It's a draw. Like, I cannot trade the rooks. So the best I can do is prolong the game and play whatever is this, and Ancient holds this for white. I was never winning. Okay, of course, he could have made a mistake in a time scramble, but I mean, this rook b3 is totally sick move. And rook b2 is very, very human. But again, somebody could argue maybe I should have foreseen in the time scramble that he has to play king e4. For him, there's no other choice. But I mean, king e4, king e5, and king f6. I just did not find it. So he played king e4, and I'm thinking, I'm calculating, spending some time. I had like 8-7 minutes, and suddenly I see an idea. I like, oh wow, look at that. Let me play rook d5. Rook d5 is such a smart move. I'm stopping king e5. He cannot do anything. I'm improving rook b4, rook b3, etc. And I'm sitting there for like 30 seconds and like, wait, something is wrong. I have no threats. And I just realized I mixed up with the rook b3, which would come with a threat to take with e3. Rook d5 is just an empty move. You know, it was like a thunderbolt. I just blundered. I realized I just blundered because I just made a stupid move without any threat whatsoever. And I'm thinking, wait, what about rook c1 here? Right? He just plays rook c1 here. And I look at his clock, he has about 50 seconds, and I try to not to give away any emotions, but I'm just burning inside. Indeed, rook c1, he would be just killing on the spot, basically. Rook c8 is checkmate in 2. And I would have to play knight e6, king f3, and rook b3, try to pin the bishop. Rook c7, threatening rook h8 mate, he's taking over the game. King g8, and maybe he wouldn't have found this resource, but white is winning. And I'm like, I'm literally dying inside. You know, I'm seeing rook c1, I'm thinking, this is how it ends, right? This is how my championship run ends, and my bid for the FIDE World Cup ends right here because of this stupid blunder. I played a very nice game, and fine, if you can't win this, do not blunder it in one move. And I'm literally counting the seconds. And he plays rook g1. I like, massive relief. He did not find it, and then I'm thinking, wait, how do I actually stop g7 and rook h8? And I was quite lucky in this moment because this is very often how it goes in a time scramble. If you spot something else, a very nice idea, it's very difficult for you to see something else, especially for him. It was very difficult to understand rook c1, it allows knight d6 check. There's no rook c8, but rook c7, rook h8 apparently is stronger. So he was preoccupied only having 1 minute on the clock that rook g1 comes with a more direct threat. So I was very, very lucky. I found the check, I pinned the bishop on e3, I have to give away the knight, and now I pin his bishop. Yeah, by the way, the engine says he could have tried to play king e2 intermezzo, but I mean, this makes no sense. In a time scramble, I'm still holding the position with rook d7. This is how engine likes to play chess. Attack the rook, checkmate the one threat, but I'm still okay. I'm surviving this, and it's whatever, 3-result game, but the engine says, no, it's a draw. Okay, you got it. But instead, he took on g7, I played rook e3, and a couple of checks later, it was a draw. I felt a massive relief. And I actually had a feeling maybe I'm even losing. Like, he could play rook c7, checkmate from both sides. Have to be very careful where I land the rook. But apparently, it's very accurate king e8. And now in some lines, I'm ready to take on f4 and defend from the check on the last rank. Very important resource. And if he gives a check here and tries to go here, which I originally in the time scramble thought I'm probably losing, I give rook g3. So I think he should have continued a bit because I was very, very vulnerable at this point. But he was also very nervous that he's going to misplace something, and we agreed to a draw. So it was a huge, dramatic moment, and I felt I just escaped a certain death basically here, right? Because this could have been basically over. That's it. The tournament is finished. That's it. I'm gone from the race. And in the meantime, Tom Kantans had beaten another grandmaster, Nikita Meshkov on demand, basically, with the white collar. And this man, he is already ahead with 6.5 points out of 7. So I almost lost this game. I was 6 points out of 7, 2 rounds to go. And I thought, yeah, maybe it's not going to really work. But I just were given a chance. And I hold on to it. So the next round, I beat one of the content creators, by the way, the greatest content creator in Latvia, Maxim Golubovsky. He has a YouTube channel of 19,000 followers, even though he does content in the Russian language. I'm not going to show you that game. It was a pretty interesting game, but there was no dramatic moments. I won a pretty clean game. And at the same time, Tom Kantans was winning against Ilmar Starostits, the final member of the Latvian national team. He almost lost it. And then like a Houdini escaped the draw. So I had totally mixed feelings. Like I could have been leading the tournament before the final round with 7 out of 8. Now Tom's escaped the draw and there we are. That's the photo finish. Both of us, we have 7 points out of 8. I have 1.5 point better improved Buchholz. So this means if I win the final round, most likely I'm the champion. And then comes the pairings. In the final round, I'm playing against Georgijs Germanovs, a young talent from Latvia. And he's playing against another talent. And both of us were playing with white. So, here we go. Here's the game. I decide to play Italian game, which is one of my pet continuations. I was quite surprised to see that Georgijs played this line because normally he would play the French defense. So I prepped against that. Bishop c5, d6, c3, all of this is pretty basic stuff. So let's not sit on this too much. a6, a4, bishop a7, knight e2, etc. So mostly when black plays knight e7, as I understand it, it's all about a race. And by the way, I made a bootcamp about it, and I think I already mentioned this. The bootcamp number, whatever, 43 or something, the Italian game. And I talked about it's essentially a race. Who's going to push faster, d4, white, or d5, black? So eventually, whoever succeeds should be having better chances. Like if I allow d5 for black, this means probably I'm just equal. If black allows white to push d4 with no consequences, this means white is better. And I'm trying to remember the theory here. I'm pretty sure it was d4. And I had to recall some fascinating lines. Like he could take it and try to eliminate the center with knight e4, but it doesn't work. Because I can take with the rook and I play rook e7. And this I kind of remembered from some analysis. Then I'm thinking what happens if he plays d5. And again, the memory rings a bell. I think it was e5. The knight on f6 is hit. Take it. And now I try to calculate some lines. Can I play knight e4? Not the pawn on c4. I think it's more important to go for the attack. Knight f5, g4, bishop h6 looks incredibly dangerous. Like I saw this line from the far. Takes, rook e8, and knight f6. Like this is one of the typical combinations. The rook e8 is hit, and black is losing. Then I thought he can play king g7, and now what? So I calculated the line. Can I sacrifice the knight? Can I play bishop h6 with a massive threat of bishop g5, like rook g8, queen d2, queen d5 stuff, etc. So I was about somewhere here. And I tried to calculate stuff like rook e5, queen f3, bishop g5, I'm winning the queen, etc. So definitely had a lot of fun. And while my opponent was trying to figure it out, can he do this? Like I already figured it out and I played d4. So essentially, I'm winning the race for the d4, d5. My opponent played rather quickly knight g6, and I'm thinking, wait, this is basically a fantastic position for me. So what's the follow-up here? And now comes something really stupid. Like, I think I remember the theory, but I execute the move without any double checking. So I basically play like in 2 minutes. I take on e5, and I'm thinking, it was bishop f1, queen c2, knight c4, a5, bishop e3, right? And as soon as I do that, I was like, what did I just do? What did I just do? No, wait. Because if I play bishop f1, what about the knight h5 typical idea? This was not supposed to happen. And if I play knight c4, what about queen f6? He wants to play rook d8, knight f4, bishop h3, knight h4, whatever. I'm like, do this. Just mixed up. I just mixed up in a very critical game. So I'm sitting here. Oh, wow. This is so stupid, right? So apparently here, yeah, I could have played like bishop d3 or bishop b3, whatever. Like, I can play bishop d3, knight f4, bishop c2, knight f1, knight g3, I'm better. Or now knight h5 probably doesn't really make any sense because I didn't really check this line. I think I can just even retreat with the bishop in f1. I lost the tempi, but the major difference is this bishop is blocked. And there's no tricks, no tactical tricks with the g3 square, etc. So the damage is done. And I'm spending here like half an hour. And during this half an hour, I went through all the possible emotions, all the gamma. From despair, happiness, to despair again. Mostly it was despair. And I'm trying to convince myself, listen, gather the strength. Come on. You're the pro here. Gather the strength. It's still good. But I cannot find a move. Like, what's the next move? Because if I play something like queen c2 here, he plays knight h5. If I play knight f1, he plays queen f6. He wants to take on h3. Knight f4 for black, it's very easy to play. And I am not in time even to eliminate the dark square bishop with bishop e3. Alright, so I spend half an hour, I gather my strength, and I play bishop f1. With an idea, if he plays knight h5, I can play knight c4. If he plays queen f6, I can play bishop e3. And if he plays rook d8, I can play queen c1. And now, bishop h3 doesn't work because of bishop a7, rook a7, queen e3, hitting the rook, hitting the bishop. Easy peasy, right? No, not easy. And I also had a feeling that I had seen some similar positions in the Italian game where the engine says everything is good. But from a practical point of view, it's very unpleasant to play. So I did this. I played bishop f1. And I thought he has to play bishop e6, most likely. And after this, I was like clueless. What can we do next? Because I could have played knight c4. He can take on d1 and take the pawn on e4. So I thought I have to go here. And now again, he plays knight h5. And after knight c4, again, he plays queen f6. So again, I have no time for bishop e3. Because now he takes on h3. So I would have to go like here. Bishop h3 is going to be 95 ideas. And he's losing a piece. If I calculate it correctly. What about knight h4? Yeah. So he is having all the fun here. I'm supposed to win this actually, right? So he didn't play it. He played b5, and this was a massive relief. Like, I felt after b5, probably he's never going to play knight h5 now. So, 5 minutes, gather the thoughts, let's continue the game. Queen c2. Obviously, I cannot take on b5, right? If I do that, there's a typical bishop f2. The rook at a1 is under attack, and with b5, he was taking away the c4 square. Like, it's a nice idea, but not necessary here. I play queen c2, he played bishop e6. I was thinking c4 looks pretty interesting. Like, if he plays b4, I play c5. Maybe I can sack the pawn, like for some knight b3 ideas, them like the light squares, etc. I had many interesting ideas here, like he could play knight e7 and maybe sack the pawn like this, bishop c4, dominate the light squares. I was not sure. I play knight b3. And my idea was to fight for the weakness on c5, also in some lines target the pawn on b5, now that the rook in a1 is defended. He played queen d7. Again, c4 is a move. I saw it, but I was not really sure, is it a good move or not. So I played bishop e3, and he played rather quickly this b takes on a4, and I was quite surprised by the speed, because I felt whenever you're changing your pawn structure, you always want to invest some time. So apparently I cannot play knight c5. Takes, there's bishop b3. He has no weaknesses, I'm down a pawn. So I safely assumed, confidently probably, not safely, that I'm worse. So I play knight e2, and here comes the critical moment. He plays rook b8, he organizes counterattack so that I don't have the time to get the pawn on a4. Now comes the critical moment. I'm thinking, how do I get the position with the knight on c4? Because if I get the knight on c4, I protect the pawn, and I can kill the pawn on a4, and I get to exploit these weaknesses. But the question is, how? Because if I try to play, for example, a bishop c4, after bishop c4, I was looking at there might be some sacrifices on h3, like bishop takes on h3, queen takes on h3, and followed by knight g4 or knight f4, and if I take it, am I sure I'm not getting checkmated there? It looks very risky, and I kind of don't like it. Also, in some similar lines, maybe he can include rook takes on e3 first, and my rook on e3 doesn't stand really well. So I decide to take on a7 first and play knight c4. Now, I did not want to do this. I wanted to trade the bishops on c4 and land the knight. Again, unfortunately, there's always the bishop h3 idea, which is very easy for him. Like, based on intuition, this makes perfect sense. So I play knight c4, I hit the pawn on e5, he takes it, he plays very quickly rook b7. So he's playing very fast and applying pressure. I cannot take on a4 because if I do that, I'm never ever in my life I'm gonna win this. Actually, black simply looks more active with some rook c2, rook c3, rook b to b2 ideas and what I'm doing here. I cannot win this. So I play rook a2. Feels incredibly slow, but I have an idea. I'm hoping he's not gonna pick up my idea to go bishop f1, knight e2, knight c4, protect the pawn and hit the pawn on a4. If he plays something like a3, I just play b3 or b4. So this idea to sack the pawn quite doesn't work for him. He plays queen c6. I go here. So I protect the bishop. I'm ready to execute my plan. And here, he made a mistake. He did not understand the dangers that his position might face. After all, he's controlling the b file. He's up a pawn. What kind of danger are we talking about? He should have played knight f4, which is a very human move. Improve the pieces. Again, remember the rule. When you don't know what to do, you can always improve your pieces. I go here. He improves his pieces. He wants to land the knight on c5. Very dangerous idea. I go here. And now the key is knight b6. I give hero a fork, but he counterattacks my rook on a2. The position remains level. I'm not worse, by the way. He did not find it. He played rook d8, which I thought was pretty irresponsible move because he is threatening rook takes on d2 and queen c4, but I had a feeling he's not paying any attention what is my idea all along. So I play bishop f1, I deal with his threats, and now knight c4 is unstoppable. And now there's a major difference. After knight e7, knight c4, he cannot play knight b6. I play knight a5, queen e6, and the rook on d8 is under attack. Huge difference. Around this moment, while we are playing the game, Tom Contans wins his game easily. His opponent just blunders a queen, like that. And I'm looking at, really? Like, really? He just hung the queen on the platter? Alright, don't worry about it, focus on your game, but Tom's already has 8 points out of 9, and this means if I win this game, it's gonna be a race for the tiebreakers. I try not to think about it, but responsibility for this game dramatically increases. The stakes become the highest ever. I play knight c4, he plays rook b3. I play, here's the idea by the way. After knight a5, queen b6, I cannot really take the rook on b3. It's a fork, obviously. And I cannot take the pawn on a4 because the pawn is under attack and he just wants to play knight c5. So I'm thinking, let me be smart. And I go k1. And now there's a lot of nasty tricks. So first I'm threatening with a fork, which is pretty basic, by the way, right? So if he plays queen b7, I play knight a5. Again, the silly rook on d8 is always the critical tempi. Why he cannot do this? He played queen b5 pretty quickly, like there's no knight a5. If I play knight a5, which is a pretty cool idea, by the way. I'm winning the exchange, but he takes on b2 first. Bishop b5, rook c2. I calculated knight b7, and at least he can take on b5. Maybe even rook b8 is a move here, but at least he can take on b5, and he's perfectly fine. So I'm thinking I gotta improve my position, and I played rook d1. Very, very powerful move. And after this, not only I'm pitting the rook on d8, he literally doesn't have any moves. Like, what do you do here? There's a rook d5 threat as well. And there's the discovered attack with the knight as well. What do you do? Like, there's one line, knight f4. Now I play knight f5. Queen a5 is queen b3. If he takes on b2, I take it, rook c2. And now a pretty important accuracy, bishop a4 first. Hit the rook, then collect the piece on d7 and watch out for the forks on e2, etc. Nothing is working for black. I'm just winning. So he played queen b8. Already spent like 20 minutes or more. He realized he's in trouble. I took the pawn. Now his position is starting to fall apart. I took on d8. I play rook a5. I'm taking over the game. I feel this is it. I can win this game. I can win this game. So he played rook b5, and here I made one small inaccuracy. I played b4. I completely missed I can play rook a1, improving the threat of playing b4. I just collect the pawn and have a very easy game. And contrary to what happened in the game, he doesn't have the counterattack at the king side. Okay, so I still played a human move, b4. I collect the pawn, and now he's going for the desperate counterattack at the king side, which is, of course, not good news to me because for him, it's either this or nothing. So he's going to do something at the king side, queen, two knights, and a pawn, trying to generate some perpetual check or something. After the game, Germanovs said he was not very happy about the move. He said he should have played queen h4 immediately with some sacrifice ideas either on g2 or h3. And I would have to find, I'm not sure I would have found it, bishop c8. Very cool defense. With the idea to play bishop f5, I'm protecting everything, and in some lines I'm even threatening to trap the queen. So he played queen g5 first. I retreated back to the safety, not to miss any tricks, and now he played queen h4, which is essentially a waste of time. I push back the queen. I play bishop g2, try not to push forward the pawns more than I have to. I play king h2, and I have to make sure that knight f3 does not work. Like takes, here, and I'm just in time to defend everything. And I was looking for some tricks here if he plays like f5, what was the line? Take it, knight f4. If I take on f4, he takes with a queen, takes on c4. It's a queen endgame. Who knows how it's going to finish? So I'll calculate here. He sacrifices the knight. I take it. He gives a check. I go here, h5, king g5. I saw this line. And there's no mate for black. Like, there's no follow-up. And I'm winning. So I had to make sure in a very quick time frame to calculate this line. And he went desperado counterattack. Unlucky for him, I anticipated this. But probably he couldn't have done anything else. I took it. I played knight c4, bring more pieces to the defense. f3, bishop f1, queen h4. He's attacking me with knight e4, knight f2, etc. Queen e2 is good enough. And now I just defend everything. Queen e3, there's no mate, no tricks. Everything is defended. A knight takes on c3, I take on f3. It doesn't work. Maybe even there's some like queen d8, bishop d3, meet a checkmate. Yeah, probably. I think I'm just checkmating on the spot. He went here, here, and now basically it's over. So all I did, I wrapped up the game, forced some trades. But there was a pretty funny moment. How to throw the championship? You do a mouse slip, you play here. It's a perpetual check. Okay, obviously, I can just take it. And that's it. So he was fighting it out until the very end, trying to get the knight and bishop versus the king. I don't think I need to give him the chance. And a couple of moves later, he resigned because, let's say he goes g2, bishop g2, knight c5, I put a queen, he gives a check, he takes it. In the worst case, I just defend the pawn, like king g6. He couldn't make any progress, and I'm just collect the pawn and win the game. That's it. So the game finished. And now, like, I finished the game. And suddenly there's a huge wave of emotions coming up. Like, you just cannot describe it. I feel like this possibly was the most important game of my career. And this huge emotion, like a wave, jumps up, and I covered it. I covered the face. I literally started crying. Like, incredibly emotional moment. You're right. I just cannot hold emotions together. I cover the face, and my opponent is saying something to me like I am not even registering what he's saying, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, let's walk away. I still cannot believe it that I won the game. So you think it's over? I won the championship. So I go outside the playing call. I need to calm down, etc., and I need to check the tiebreaks. So what is the tiebreak? The improved Buchholz is the amount of points of your opponents. How many points did they score? Like, the opponents you played in the first, second, third round, etc. How many points they scored in total? This is the tiebreaker. Is it fair? It's a lottery, basically. Basically, you are lucky against who you played. If somebody quits the tournament midway, you're possibly bad luck. And I'm checking my tiebreaks. My previous opponents are losing. Like, two of them are losing, and I'm checking the tiebreaks of my opponent. Tom Contans, his tiebreaks are winning. And suddenly the feeling sets in. I'm not going to make it. I'm in the second place. Like, that's it. So even if I did my best, it's not going to be enough. It's a huge disappointment, like this feeling. And I'm basically waiting for the final results. And one of the a mother of one of the participants says, "Okay, let's go get coffee. Just everything is going to be all right." And I'm like, "No, it's not going to be all right. It's very bad. Yeah, like I did my best, and it's not going to be enough." She said, "No, it's going to be all right. Let's go take a coffee." And I'm checking the results. Okay, there's the final result. Still no final results are available. Click refresh. There's the final ranking, and my card basically stops. I click on the final result. And I'm second better tiebreaker. First is completely equal. Second better is better by half a point. And I'm standing there in the foyer outside the play menu, and I did like this. Unbelievable happy. So we hug, yeah. Very, very, very emotional moment. And I could not still believe it. I couldn't believe I made it. Very, very, very exhausting moment. Very difficult day. And yeah, and then we were congratulations and everything, award ceremony, and I had to give a speech. I thought I'm gonna literally cry during the speech ceremony. Uh, so yeah, this is how it went down, and of course I quite feel for Toms. I think he deserved it. He deserved the win as well. And to be honest, before the start of the final round, I thought if he's gonna make it, he's gonna make it. And he is. I really like him. I like his family. I know his family really well. And I thought if they're gonna make it, and I'm not BS here, I would be happy for him. I'll be incredibly disappointed in my score, but ultimately, if I'm making 8 points out of 9 and I'm not winning, then I'm not winning. Then it's basically a fate. So I think this was the fate, essentially. And now, finally, we finish on this dramatic finish end, which is second tiebreaker better for me. And did I mention this at the very beginning? We discussed this before the tournament, that we should have a mini match in case there's going to be a tie, in case there will be shared first place. We should fight it out in a special mini match. Toms was for it. Nikita Meshkov, another grandmaster from Latvia, was for it, but two other grandmasters that were kind of against it. They said, this is too late. We're discussing this at the last moment. We should be doing this, etc. There's all kinds of scenarios. So we met 10 minutes before the start of the first round of the tournament. We said, are we doing this? Are we doing this? Okay, we're not doing it. It's the Impro Buchholz. And this was the result. So after the tournament, I basically said, never ever again. we should decide the championship on the improvable holes. I was the more luckier player at the very end, but I think Tom's Kantans also fully deserved this spot. And this difference was so tiny and the reward was so huge. So that's the drama. This is how it finished. So this is my 5th Latvian championship title. Absolutely crazy finish line. Basically, I had to recover from the tournament several days. I was mentally not there. I was swimming underwater probably. Like I was like not sleeping well. Basically, now I'm recovering. On Friday, the tournament finished on Monday. On Friday, I had fully recovered. And of course, Monday was a very special day to me because my 5th chessable course was released. And actually, this was the lucky number. Like, it was year 2025, 5th May, 5th month. My 5th Latvian championship title, my 5th chessable course gets released. So, I start to believe in the lucky numbers. It's number 5. I'm not big on this thing, but now I'm thinking about it. There's definitely something there. Either way, I'm going to prep for the FIDE World Cup, which is going to be end of October. Plenty of time. Super excited. Leave your thoughts. What do you think about it? What do you think about the games? I think for me, this was the most difficult Latvian championship ever. Absolutely. Very, very nervous tournament. And of course, if you enjoyed my coverage, please press like. I really appreciate it. And again, if you like my content, if you're not yet a sub, there's this sub button. Smash on it. Become part of the community so that I can make more content. That's it. I'm finishing the coverage here. Get out of here and have a great day.